Phenomenal Floor Covering, a locally owned Abbey Design Center located at 713 Park Ave in Beaver Dam. Randy and his team are here to help you design the perfect space. They have over 1,000 samples of carpet, LVP, hardwood, tile, area rugs, and window furnishings. It's so much more than floors. They have a wide selection of kitchen and bathroom countertops, cabinets, tile, shower inserts, and more. Speaking of floors, with their flooring, you can choose from many different styles, types, and brands of floorings, including carpet, hardwood, laminate/LVP, tile, stone, and area rugs. Randy and his team will come out to measure and provide suggestions on types of flooring and price points to meet your budget. Call 920-887-8341 or go to PROFLR for all your needs. Here's Community Comment with Terry Bell.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And our guest today on Community Comment is State Representative Andrew Hysell. We'll be talking about all the things that the legislature is up to that affect us here in the district. And if you want to join the conversation, we invite you to call. And we'll get the number to you in just a moment. My apologies. But first of all, let's welcome Andrew Hysell to the program. Representative, welcome to Community Comments.
Hey, thanks, Mr. Bell. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. We're going to talk about a lot of issues and legislation and matters that are pressing to people. But first of all, let's start off the program on a high note, talking about, I think, what many lawmakers describe to me as one of their favorite days of the year. And that's when lawmakers recognize first responders of the year, one for each district, 99 all over Wisconsin. And you were able to give some recognition to a deserving first responder from your district.
Yeah, absolutely. The individual that received the 48th Assembly District First Responder of the Year award was Phil Wickowitz. Phil is the captain of the Southwest region of the State Patrol. He has been living in the area since 2007. He joined the DeForest, Wisconsin State Patrol post at that time. But before that, he had actually served in the Army as a medic. He was deployed to Afghanistan in 2004, served for a year, and then upon returning and joining the State Patrol, he's been there ever since. And he just recently was promoted to be one of the 5 regional captains supervising 120 officers from this area all the way up to Toma.
Some of these first responders that get recognized, sometimes it's almost like a career service recognition, and sometimes it's for very specific acts of heroism. My goodness, Captain Wittowicz, let's see, according to the information I have here, stabilized an injured victim in a building that was at risk of collapsing. He rescued people out of a burning building. He performed a CPR to save 2 people who didn't have any pulse. And he prevented a woman from jumping off a bridge. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it just really goes to show how important our State Patrol are and what they do. Often people just don't know. And I think the whole point of this day in the state capitol to pass this resolution and give them this support and this acknowledgement is to make sure people do know what our first responders are doing for us on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because a lot of times when public safety and law enforcement in particular are in the news, it's oftentimes it's critical. Oftentimes it's because they're dealing with difficult situations and maybe having to make, very, very serious decisions in a split second, and things don't always go well. I'm sure it's good for the morale of our first responders around the state to get this pat on the back.
I really think it is, and it should be. As you mentioned, first responders do some really important, incredible things. to keep us safe, and they pay the price. I've met with Sun Prairie first responders at the fire department and talked to them about the need for mental health supports, because when you respond to terrible car accidents with dead people and you see just really traumatic things, it has an impact. And I think that just again emphasizes that people like State Trooper Phil Wickowitz and others, they're out there doing things to keep us safe and to protect us, and we really do appreciate that here in Wisconsin.
You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. We're going to take a break, but be right back. Thanks for joining us.
This week on
much more. The team at Professional Floor Covering can't wait to connect with our friends through today's community comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
And welcome back to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV. Here is Terry Bell.
Thank you so much, Ashley. We're talking about things happening at the state capitol with State Representative Andrew Hysell of Sun Prairie. If you have a question or a comment for Representative Hysell, we invite you to join the conversation. You can call us or text us at 920-887-8585, or you can call us on the studio line at 885-4446. And we were talking about First Responder Day before the break, and all the recognition that first responders got, and some bills aimed at hoping to better law enforcement in Wisconsin. But you're also supporting a lot of legislation that would protect citizens from perhaps some excesses of law enforcement. In particular, a bill that would require law enforcement officers or others working with them to identify themselves when they're arresting or detaining people.
Yeah, Terry. The two things are not exclusive. We need to respect our law enforcement and support our law enforcement. We also need to respect individuals' constitutional rights, because those are the rights that our forefathers created for us 250 years ago. In the Declaration of Independence, they wrote that individuals have unalienable rights, which means these are rights you're born with. They can't be taken away from you. And those rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And our Bill of Rights was constructed to capture those principles. And it's imperative that we protect those today, and especially now with all these threats that are coming from at the federal level.
Yeah, certainly. When I saw this bill, the first thing that came to my mind, and I imagine a lot of other people, would be ICE agents who wear masks when they perform their work. I imagine this would perhaps make that unavailable to them.
So this bill essentially says, or the point behind this bill, the theme behind this bill is the words secret police and America should never occur in the same sentence. Anytime there's a law enforcement action or activity, Americans deserve to know who the police are. And we've had incidents now where ICE has actually detained and arrested and held Americans. This is something that should never happen in the United States, and therefore I support this bill. I also support a bill that creates, for the first time ever, a private cause of action in state court here in Wisconsin. So an individual can actually go to state court in Wisconsin and file a lawsuit to protect their constitutional rights if they're violated by a state or federal government official.
Certainly. So would the state have the authority to pass a measure that federal government officials would have to comply with?
That's a great question, Terry. I've actually done some legal research on the matter, and the answer is yes. Potentially in certain situations where a federal agent was acting outside of their constitutional scope of authority and they violated a state law or constitutional provision, the answer is yes.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Just speaking of ICE, there have been some detaining actions in the area. I don't know if in your district specifically, but I'm thinking a little bit to the east of us, Beaver Dam, and I think down on the east side of Madison, there have been. Is your office fielding any complaints or concerns about that, or keeping abreast of things?
Definitely hearing from folks about. I heard specifically of something occurring in Sun Prairie. It's actually affecting people now in our local communities, and the fear that it creates is really significant. I think Sun Prairie, the city council, might actually be looking at some sort of proposal on this same issue. I'm not 100% certain, but I've been talking to an alder who said that he's working on it. So, yeah, it's something that's affecting us now locally, and again, it's why I'm taking action proactively, because we just can't sit back and let these things happen without a strong response.
Yeah, the second bill that you're a part of, would this be about civil, making things right in civil court or criminal court?
So it's the same court. It's a circuit court. So it's basically your county court. Like if you're in Dane County, it'd be Dane County's one of the Dane County circuit courts, and it would be a civil cause of action. It's a civil cause of action. Currently, you can file one of these lawsuits. It's called a 1983 lawsuit. It's named after the federal code designation of 1983. You can file one of these in federal court. So if somebody violates your right to due process, your right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures, or one of your constitutional rights, you can actually file a lawsuit in the Eastern District or the Western District Federal Court of Wisconsin. This would allow you to instead be able to file in your district court, which would be cheaper, easier, and a lot more. It would open up access to people so that they could do it themselves, as opposed to having to hire expensive lawyers.
I'm also very interested in knowing about the privacy amendment that's in the early stages of drafting and collecting co-authors. Whose privacy would this protect?
Individuals. It's basically a right to be protected from governmental intrusion into your personal life. There's almost 10 states right now in the U.S., from Alaska, Hawaii, Montana, Washington, that have these provisions written into their state constitution. And it basically says your body and your immediate family decisions are your prerogative, and it should not be intruded upon by arbitrary governmental action. So it can apply to a lot of things. It's been used to uphold in Alaska in 1975 a person's right to have a small amount of cannabis in their home. It's been used in Montana to expand your right essentially to require police to not only have a search warrant to search your house, but also your property. And in state, it's also been used to uphold the right to safe and legal abortion.
Would it also maybe, I know when people think of privacy these days, they're thinking about, how much of their personal information is out there online. Would there be any kind of protections for some kind of, electronic invasion of privacy?
By the government, yes. And ultimately, there are other policies and proposals that I've signed on to that would protect us from private interference, private entities invading our privacy. But really the focus of this is to protect people from government's invasion. Maybe, for example, the IRS is like, I want to know everyone's, address. They want to share information maybe with another department that doesn't have any business knowing that information. These are things that we're starting to see at the federal level. And this would, we can't do anything at the state legislature for anyone in another state, but we can increase rights here to protect our citizens' constitutional rights.
Right. I recall there was a lot of concern about people's digital privacy when President Trump's Doge was doing its work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, these are real things that are happening. It's not just conjecture. So that's, again, why we're taking proactive action here as the Assembly Democrats to do what we can.
You're in the early stages, you say, of drafting and collecting co-authors. How is that going?
I think it's going well. I think what's great about this is that it should be a nonpartisan issue. I think our country was founded on principles of individual rights and liberty, and implicit in that, and actually the U.S. Supreme Court has found, even though it doesn't say we have a right to privacy in the U.S. Constitution, the U.S. Supreme Court has said one exists. Because how could you have a Fourth Amendment right to not be unlawfully searched if there wasn't a right to privacy? So this right to privacy historically has been used to find a right to marry who you love, whether it's an interracial marriage or a gay marriage. It's been used to protect people's right to access birth control. It's even been found to support a family's right to homeschool their children. It's a nonpartisan. It's not a partisan issue. It's an American issue.
We're talking to State Representative Andrew Hysell of Sun Prairie about matters being discussed and acted on in the state capitol that affect us back in the district. We're going to take a break here for the news, but be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
tuned to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge, presented by Professional Floor Covering.
And welcome back to Community Comment with Terry Bell on 95.3 WBEV, presented in part by McKinstry's Home Furnishings. If you close your doors in your home when company comes because of your inferior interior, and formulate a complete plan for any and all rooms in your home. Just bring them the measurements and pictures of your room. Determine any items you wish to keep, then they can discuss your paint colors, furniture styles, area rugs, and accessories. Combining your ideas and their expertise, you will achieve the room plan you desire while working within your budget. That's all there is to it. Stop in and see them today at McKinstry's Home Furnishings in downtown Beaver Dam, where customers matter and quality counts. Here's Community Comment with Terry Bell.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Our guest today is State Representative Andrew Hysell. We're talking to him about all the things happening at the state capitol, discussions, debates, and actions that affect us back in the district. This would be a great opportunity for you to speak directly with the representative. You can call us or text us at 920-887-8585. You can also call us directly at the studio line at 885-4446. Last time we spoke, Representative Hysell, we were talking about some legislation that you were behind that would protect a lot of things, but the one thing that comes to mind immediately is hemp farmers who may inadvertently find themselves, amiss of the law through no fault of their own, just the way things are perhaps written down. You're looking to rectify some of those discrepancies. Representative Hysell?
Sorry about that. I don't know why my phone just muted. Terry,
It's okay.
I heard everything you said. Sorry about that.
Very good.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So on the hemp issue, what's happened in 2018 is the federal government essentially created an opportunity for farmers and small businesses and other companies to begin producing products that are derived from hemp, which is closely related to marijuana, very closely, but it's not the same. It's not the exact same plant. And under the 2018 hemp law, essentially you can make products and sell them that contain things like CBD and even Delta-9 that have an intoxicating effect. And that's currently happening here in Wisconsin. You can go to bars, you can go to Quick Trip, you can go to grocery stores and purchase these hemp-derived THC drinks. So what's going on right now in the state legislature is a bill was just introduced that would bring, it's a 180-page bill, and it would bring everything, all these products under the three-tier system, which is a system of brewers, distributors, and retailers that we use for alcohol since the 1930s.
And your motivation, I'm guessing, is protect people who are doing business legally and helping encourage an agricultural product in Wisconsin.
Well, so I'm actually not in support of this industry bill. I've actually signed on to a different bill that would. So the industry bill that I just described is 180 pages long and has a myriad of things in there. It's just like there's so many different provisions in there, and Assembly Democrats were not included in the discussion, and neither were some of these smaller businesses that work here in Wisconsin or the farmers. It was really crafted just from the alcohol industry side. And so I'm not supportive of this 180-page bill, but instead I've signed on to a bill that will be introduced shortly that basically just focuses on protecting children so that you can't legally sell these products to children. I'm also interested in expanding that to include regulations that would ensure safety, consumer protection regulations, packaging, things of that nature. But the idea that we need to go out and essentially just add this to the alcohol system is not, I think is premature because, again, it would essentially eliminate a bunch of businesses that have been thriving here in Wisconsin. And I don't think that's fair.
Yesterday, over in the Senate, there was a hearing on the Health Committee about the Republicans' medical cannabis program bill. You have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I want to thank Senator Testin and Pelskowski for introducing this bill and giving it a hearing. It's really good to see some movement on this finally. With that being said, I think this bill needs some help. It does not allow you to grow your own plants, and I think that's important. Individuals, a very small number of plants, should be able to grow some plants themselves. I think it's more cost effective, especially when it's for medical purposes. That just makes common sense. They also, another issue is they require pharmacists to prescribe cannabis to people, and pharmacists are, they make a lot of money, so that's going to increase costs, which is going to be passed on to consumers. Pharmacists get paid about $150,000 a year on average. Plus, pharmacists might put their federal licensure at risk because, again, at the federal level, cannabis is considered a Schedule 1 drug. I think also it lacks the ability for people to buy flower. It just focuses on concentrates and other products, but not flower. And I do know from hearing from veterans, senior citizens, and others who take medical cannabis for things like pain, PTSD, and other issues, that the smokable flower is something that they really want.
And I think one thing that would make it an issue here in Wisconsin is that all the states that surround us, if I'm not mistaken, do have legal cannabis, and for medical marijuana, I should say, forgive me, medical marijuana, and that Wisconsin is losing out under the current status quo.
Yeah, believe it or not, we're way behind. We're one of the few states that has a total ban, medical or recreational. But Michigan, Illinois, and Minnesota legalized it recreationally, and we're still trying to figure out how to do it medically. We kind of need to. I've been advocating for legalization in Wisconsin since 2018. I just don't understand why prohibition makes any sense. If you're an adult, you can make choices they're lawful and they're responsible. I don't see why government gets in between you and your choices. So at the end of the day, we need to catch up. That's why I appreciate Senator Testin doing this. I think his caucus, the Republicans, there's a lot of disagreements on this issue, but he's still stepping up and giving a hearing to it. I do think the bill needs to be improved, though, before it becomes law.
Do you see any movement among people's feelings? I know the Republican line has been to oppose recreational marijuana because of the proverbial slippery slope it would open up. Do you see people maybe coming around on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, two out of three voters support legalization, full adult use, obviously regulated and used responsibly. So yeah, I think the public will is there. The issue is that the politicians are still trying to catch up.
We're talking to State Representative Andrew Hysell of Sun Prairie. We're talking about all the debates, discussions, and actions at the state capitol that affect us here back in the district. We need to take a quick break here, but we will be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
And welcome back to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV. Here is Terry Bell.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Our guest today is State Representative Andrew Hysell of Sun Prairie. We're talking about all the discussions, debates, and actions at the state capitol that affect us in the district. If you have a question or a comment for Representative Hysell, we still have a few minutes left in the program. You can call us or text us at 920-887-8585, or you can call us on our studio line at 885-4446. You were recently named to the Judiciary Committee, and that's work that I know you're especially enthusiastic about. And you're tackling a couple of pieces of legislation that you wanted to talk about today. One of them is about registration of plate concealment devices and avoiding penalties. So give us some background on this. It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Terry, you're right. I've been on Judiciary since January, but I just was actually elevated to the ranking member on the Judiciary Committee, which I'm the only freshman that's happened this year. And I have a colleague, actually, another Democratic freshman who's ranking member on Constitution and Ethics. So yeah, it's a real honor, and I appreciate the opportunity to do more work on behalf of my constituents. So one of the bills that came through our committee that I supported, I voted for, and then it was passed last Tuesday by the Assembly, and it's now, I believe it's been, I'm trying to just check where it's at right now. This bill basically would prohibit, it's Assembly Bill 77, it would prohibit somebody from installing a plate concealing device on their car. And the idea is that it would make it a criminal penalty, because if you intentionally do that, it's a way to prevent the law enforcement from identifying people who are committing crimes. It's pretty common sense. So it's been increasing. You can actually go online and buy these devices, and so therefore it seems like a really smart thing to do.
Can you describe what these devices are like? How do they work, and who's using them?
For like a couple $100, you can actually, it's like the old James Bond movie. You can get a device that flips your license plate. So, if you're in a situation where you don't want the people to know who you are, you can obscure your license plate. Allows individuals then to commit crimes with impunity. So it's basically a device, and you can purchase these. Like I said, you can purchase these things online. It's, again, the internet has done some really great things for us, but it's also given tools to people to break and obey the law. So again, I feel I was happy to support this, and it did pass the Assembly.
Yeah, you use the term common sense, and it would seem to be pretty, self-explanatory to people that, this sort of device ought to be illegal. Why hasn't this been addressed until now?
Because I don't think it was as common. Again, the internet provides opportunities for really good ideas to get out to a lot of people. People can access a lot of good ideas really quickly through the internet. They can also access really bad ideas quickly through the internet. So you go online and you can find these devices. You may never even thought, hey, why don't I get one of these things, and then I can drive around anonymously and create mischief. And it's a relatively new issue. It's become more widespread. That's why we're responding to it.
The Judiciary Committee is also taking up a bill that would make it a crime to impersonate law enforcement officers, firefighters, and other emergency personnel. I guess the typical layperson maybe would have thought this was already illegal. Tell us about this bill.
Sure. So this bill, I also supported. It was passed out of the Assembly and passed out of the Senate as well. But this bill basically increases the penalty from a Class A misdemeanor, the highest level misdemeanor, to a Class I felony, which is the lowest level felony. So basically it goes from 9 months in prison or jail to 1.5 years in jail, and it just makes it more serious. It doesn't go overboard. It doesn't over-criminalize people. But in this day and age, we're seeing, again, like this uptick of people pretending to be law enforcement officers, pulling people over. That's just bad all around. It puts people at risk from people pretending to be police. It also undermines people's confidence and belief in the actual police. And therefore, this, again, seemed like something that it seemed prudent. It didn't seem to be too much. It didn't seem to be too little. It seemed to be just right.
Very good. Just a few minutes left in the show, and I was just curious to know where you will be, some of your upcoming interactions with constituents and opportunities for people to bend your ear on this topic or that.
Sure, absolutely. Well, reach out to my office anytime. I'm actually going to be meeting with the fire department in Sun Prairie to talk about, I think I mentioned just briefly earlier, we're trying to talk about ways that we might be able to provide proactive support for first responders to support their mental health and not wait until there's a crisis. So that's something I'll be doing. Another thing I'm doing is I'm still knocking doors. I've been knocking doors throughout the district, and you may see me in your neighborhood. If you do, I'm not trying to sell you a roof. I just instead want to give you a chance to talk to your state representative. You wouldn't believe it, Terry, but like people, I guess they sell a lot of roofs in Sun Prairie because people frequently think that's what I'm there to do. So.
Okay. Yeah, well, I know we had some pretty bad storms here this summer, and
Right.
that created some opportunities for some bad actors.
Some aggressive salespeople. So,
Yeah.
That's something I'm doing. And obviously, I'm also interested. One thing I just did last week that was really, really useful is the Sunshine Place, which is a social service entity in Sun Prairie, provides a lot of different services, including a food bank. They hosted a 3-hour poverty simulator, and I got to live the life of a single parent with a small child with limited income, and got to see what that was like over a 3-hour period that actually was simulated weeks, and it was eye-opening. And I really, people who have an opportunity should try to do programs like this, because it really is eye-opening for those of us who maybe haven't ever faced real serious poverty.
Wow, that sounds fascinating. What sorts of experiences do you have in those 3 hours?
Well, what I found was the logistics of trying to get to your job and get then to do and to then deal with things like childcare when the child care center maybe was closed, or dealing with some sort of an issue that comes up while you're trying to like ensure that you can get to the bank, you can get to the grocery store. As a single parent with limited means, you really are dealing with a challenging landscape, and logistics and time are not your friend. And it just really helped me empathize that sometimes you just think about people who are working and maybe they're not making ends meet, and you're like, oh, they should just get a new job or just work harder. But they have like maybe a single child who maybe they have a child and the child has asthma, and the child gets sick one day and there's no child care. What are they going to do? These are things that, working Wisconsinites increasingly are facing, which is because we're not adequately funding child care. We're not providing some of the supports we need to help working families. So, yeah, I would love to get some Republicans into this thing. I think they could learn a lot. It'd be a great opportunity.
I've heard it said many times, it's expensive to be poor.
It is. You pay extra costs for everything. If you don't have a bank and you're unbanked, to cash a check, you have to spend extra money. Payday loan, pawn shops, none of these are good deals. And you start digging a hole, and before you know it, it's just hard to get out. And again, these are people who are putting in solid 40-hour weeks, and they're still dealing with these issues. And to me, that is something that the legislature should really be focused on, is helping people like that, because they deserve better.
Can we talk about the governor's race for a minute?
Absolutely. Terry, it's your show. Whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, sure thing. Well, you're a very strong supporter of Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez. I was just curious to know, now that Attorney General Josh Kaul will not be running for governor, he'll be running for re-election as Attorney General, how that affects Lieutenant Governor Rodriguez's candidacy and that of the many other Democrats running in the primary.
I think that we've got a good set of candidates right now. I think Rodriguez is a very strong candidate. I think she represented Waukesha. She's run statewide. She's in a really good position. I think she connects with a lot of different kinds of people, which is really important. And on top of that, I do believe there's also Democratic Lieutenant Governors Association is committed to spend $2 million to support her in her race. So I really think that is very significant because obviously to get your message out, it takes resources, and they wouldn't do that if they didn't think she would make a great governor. So I really think that without Call, who could be a very strong opponent, because he's done a great job himself, he's a great attorney general, he's got great statewide name recognition. Without him in the race, I definitely think Sarah's the front runner.
You know, it's a bustling Democratic primary. Meanwhile, over on the Republican side, it's been pretty quiet. We've been at two candidates ever since a third candidate dropped out of the race. Why do you suppose there hasn't been much more activity on the other side?
That's a really good question. If you had an explanation, let me know. I mean, I think primaries an opportunity for candidates to demonstrate why they should be considered for governor. If you don't have a primary, I think you get to just kind of coast in, and that's not good for anybody. So, yeah, hopefully maybe some more Republicans will jump in.
We've been talking with State Representative Andrew Hysell of Sun Prairie. It's been an hour well spent. The time went by quickly. Andrew, thanks for being with us this morning.
Oh, Terry, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on.
You've been listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
It's that time.